This is the Haulin Assets podcast, where we show you how to start and run your own trucking company. Ever wanted to go out on your own? Follow Chris as he goes through the highs and lows of running on his own authority.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Haulin Assets podcast. This is episode number 101.
Sounds like a college course.
That's it. That's right. Haulin Assets 101. Today we are coming at you from the still confetti-covered studio. I was just telling Chris, I'm basically picking that out of the studio's version of a butt crack. It's just everywhere. Just gets everywhere, right?
You're welcome.
I'm Craig. He's Chris. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well. How about you, Craig?
I'm not too bad. 101 episodes in, I'm feeling re-energized.
Good.
For more episodes, and I better be, because apparently today people need to stick around to the end, because you're going to be messing with me.
Yeah, we're going to try to make you sweat just a little bit.
So I'm usually the one who messes with you. Today you're going to be messing with me.
I've decided to reverse roles. Yeah.
So that's what's coming up kind of at the end of this episode. But I should also say at the beginning of this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, you got to see a little intro video that we threw on there. We can't really show you that if you're listening on the podcast. So we just wanted to encourage people to go check out the YouTube channel. Hey, here's a little nudge, a little reason for you to go check out the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Basically, what you're going to get is the video version of me and Chris doing exactly what we do on the podcast version. So
exactly. Yeah.
But it's just it's a little less handsome and therefore a little more enjoyable if you watch it on YouTube. All right, so Chris, today we're talking about financials, March 2022 financials. Of course, before we get there, we do have always some housekeeping stuff to do. Haulin Assets LLC, where people can go check out full show notes. And you mentioned last week a contest giveaway thing.
Yeah, we're trying to make an episode that is going to answer listeners' questions, one, and then two, hopefully get a few stories from listeners who have gone and started their own trucking company and just talk a little bit about how Haulin Assets has helped them.
Perfect.
And so to enter, all you have to do, if you go into the show notes for this episode and in episode 100, there'll be a link where you can fill out a really quick form. It'll take you a couple minutes to do, your name, your phone number, just so we have a way to contact you, your email address, and then just a short description, either your question or a short description of what you're going to do. And then ones that we pick, I will contact you and we'll get a little bit more info and potentially have you on the show, or at least tell your story on the show. If you don't want to be on the show, we can work something out. And for those who just fill out the form, you're entered for a contest to win $100. And if we actually use your question or your story, we will give you a free Haulin Assets t-shirt for sure. And then you will also put you in a pot to win $1,000. And one of those people who get on the show will get that $1,000. So we haven't got a ton of responses yet. We announced this in the last episode. So if you do a response, your chances of winning are pretty dang good.
Not a bad deal, Chris.
Not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal at all. Hey, Chris, do me a favor. Pull that mic away from you about 3 inches. All right. You're blowing my eardrums out, okay?
Sorry.
With your delightful...
Everybody else likes it, though.
Voice. All right. So, yeah, I hope everybody goes and does that. Follow those instructions, and you could be rich.
Well, $1,000 richer.
Richer. Yeah, there you go. Richer. That's fine. All right. So, Chris, anything going on this week? Anything you want to talk to the people about?
I want to do something we've never done before. And this is something that a client or a listener had emailed me about a little while ago, or Facebook. I can't remember exactly where. It's been long enough. Robert B. Was listening to the episode where I'd gone and to one of the rest stops, one of my favorite rest stops. I can't even remember for sure which one it was, but he said that one of his favorites is the Dragoon Mountain Range off of I-10 in Arizona, exit 320. And I haven't been there, but I looked it up on Google Maps. It looks like there's some really cool rock formations and some other cool things. So there's a tip. If you're ever on I-10 going through Arizona, listen to Robert B. and stop at that rest stop. And if you can spend the night, he says the vending machines are pricey. So
what do you say? The prices on them would What was the blush line?
Let's see, I've got it here. Would make a bandit blush.
Make a
A
bandit
quote
blush.
from Robert. So that's a good one. I like that.
Fantastic. So bring your own food, right?
Bring your own food.
BYOF.
Yep.
All right, Chris.
BYOS, bring your own snacks.
There you go. Yeah, I like it. So yeah, and that's something we'd love little tips like that to give people while they're out on the road. So go to Haulin Assets LLC, go to Facebook, find us, and leave those little notes, and we'll drop your tips for everybody else.
Absolutely.
Love to hear them. Yep. All right, Chris. March. I'm sorry. What month is it? Time is a flat circle. Who am I? What is truth? Okay. March 2022 financials. That's what we're talking about today. This is the third year that Haulin Assets is on the road, right? This begins the third year. April
9th of 2019 was the day I picked up the first load.
Oh, okay. So in May, when we do April financials, that's when we'll be celebrating a year.
This is past. We're past the April 9th. Today is, as we're recording, we're midway through April, more than midway through April. So
right.
We've crossed that 3-year mark. That's pretty
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's gone by fast.
It's and it's already up to 5 trucks with more on the horizon.
Yeah. Literally on the drive out to record, I got a text from Nate that truck number 6 is in transit.
Amazing.
We don't have a super strong lead on driver number 6 yet, so that's kind of important. So if anybody wants to drive for Haulin Assets and you're based in the Utah area, shoot me an email.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, Chris, how was March 2022?
March 2022 was broke a lot of records. We'll put it that way.
Really?
Yeah.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Because you can break records the other way,
which is a great way to celebrate our 3-year anniversary.
I'll say.
It's going to be fun to go over these numbers.
All right. So is that? I'm sure the market is still favorable, right? So if you're breaking records, I'm sure everybody's hustling, everybody's hitting the road, hitting those miles hard. But is any of that due to the favorable freight market that you talked about lately?
Yeah, some of it, that's part of it. Although right now, this kind of March, April timeframe of 2022, and you see this most years, the freight market's a little bit softer than it has been, but that's kind of normal for this time of year. But I expect that'll pick up, and we'll be right back in some pretty good freight, and it's not terrible right now.
Yeah.
And you'll see that in our numbers. So I want to talk or kind of highlight a couple of things here real quick that I think are a couple of our keys to success, or some of the reasons that we obviously hit those last month, but want to talk about a couple more that I think are important. One, the reason that we're seeing some success now, and we have really for the last year or two, is because the freight market has been so good. Like, it's been really good. And so that, that's made it so that our success level, our margins in what we do have been just absolutely phenomenal.
Right.
And that's probably going to continue. But I think another reason that we've really been, pretty successful is, and I don't expect everybody's going to do this to the same level that I have and that Nate has. One, I obviously earn income in my other businesses. Nate this is his full-time gig, so this is where he gets a lot of his income, but he's been super smart with his finances personally, and doesn't have, almost no debt, just a little bit on a house, and not even that much. And so we don't have this big need to draw a lot of money out of the business. And, we're 3 years into it, and we haven't drawn a dime other than a modest, salary for, most of it goes to Nate, a little bit to me, because of the time that we put into the business. But because we have done that, we've been able to build up our savings. So because, you see all these kind of really wild numbers, and you're going to see another one, in the numbers that we go over today. Well, where's all that money going? Well, it's staying in the business.
And what does that mean when you say staying in the business? I just want to make sure that for anybody who hasn't been listening for a long time, or, maybe has always been confused by that phrase, it's staying in the business. What you're saying is, you talked about the salary that you and Nate take,
So that comes out.
Right.
That's a little,
that's
little
part
piece
of the
it.
expense.
Yep.
But what you're saying is, you're not taking the rest of that and lining your pockets with it, or Nate's pockets, or anybody else. it's going toward buying more trucks, building up the savings. What else would that mean as far as going back into the business or staying in the business?
So you can, if you look at our profit and loss statement, you can see combined what Nate and I are taking out of the business that kind of contributes to that salary level. And I'm trying to remember exactly what we've got. I think it's guaranteed payments. I think that's what it's categorized as on the profit and loss statement. But everything else, a big chunk of it is we're putting into savings. We've met those savings goals that we've talked about over the last, several episodes. We've got our 10% down on our debt. We've got our operating, capital that we've saved aside for, our $15,000 per truck. So that's where a big chunk of that money's gone. So that when the market turns around and things are not nearly as good, we've got some money to kind of help us get through some tough times. Then we've also put money down, money on trucks and trailers. We've been buying a lot of trucks and trailers, so a good chunk of our money has had to go to that. And that's where the vast majority of it's gone. That's what we've done with it.
And I mean, it's you talked at the very beginning 3 years ago about how much it cost for you to get a truck on the road. How much it cost you as far as down payments and insurance and all that stuff. But do you have in your mind any sort of a goal that, hey, if we keep this savings going, if we keep breaking these records, pretty soon we could start buying trucks in cash? Is that a possibility, or do you think you would still, be buying them on credit?
That's a really good question, and there's kind of a couple different philosophies to do that. One, if you're getting trucks at 5 to 6, 7% interest rates, that's pretty cheap money, to be honest with you. So there may be times when, even if we have the money to pay cash, we may decide we don't want to.
Right.
The other thing that with that is, maybe we will pay cash, but I think that's still probably a couple years down the road before you're talking, the way we're looking at it right now, we think a new truck and trailer, our last one, the two combined, cost us $250. We think that, the next one will probably still be in that range, but we think within the next 12 months we'll be at $300,000 for a truck and a trailer. Prices are just going crazy right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty big increase.
But still worth it then to get more trucks on the road.
Still worth it. Yeah. I think as long as the freight rates kind of keep going where they're going, I think it's still worth it. They're, you can make good money with those numbers.
Yeah.
But a big chunk of the reason we're doing that, not, we're putting the money back in, not taking it out. Some people might say, well, what's the point? Aren't you doing this so that you can have a good income and kind of live the life you want to live? And yes, it is, but we're also looking at it long term. Like if we continue to do this for another couple of years where we're being really disciplined and putting the vast majority of the money back into the business, in 3 to 5 years, when we kind of flip that switch, then at that point we will be able to take out what should be really good incomes for us, and not sacrifice our ability to continue to grow. Like if we did that now, as young as we are, it would sacrifice our ability to grow. But another 2 or 3 years of doing this, we'll still be able to take out a healthy chunk of money and still be able to have enough money to allow the growth to continue.
Right. We should and we can scoff at get-rich-quick schemes, but there's nothing wrong with a get-rich scheme.
No.
Right? That's going to take you a little while. It takes discipline. It takes hard work. And that's kind of what you're describing, right? It's, it's going to bring in a lot of income potentially down the road, but it doesn't have to do that right now. And if you try to force that, it could be unsustainable.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if I kind of look back at my life, really for the first 15 years of my adult working career, I lived well below my means. Like I lived probably not a pauper lifestyle, but I wasn't living extravagant by any means. Most of my friends and my peers were, living a more lavish lifestyle than I was.
Right.
But then kind of the same thing happened at that 15-year mark. And for 5 of the years I was working for somebody else. 10 of the years, roughly started working for myself. At that point, I kind of flipped the switch and was able to live a much more comfortable lifestyle than those people who before had been doing, on the surface better than me. But that's because we'd made so many sacrifices early on. I'm a big fan of, the tortoise wins the race.
Right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of winning races, Chris, you said this was a record-setting month. Should we get into some of those numbers then?
Let's do it.
So this was the first month, I think, that all 5 trucks were running the whole month.
Yep.
Is that right? And so no vacations, no major sick days or breakdowns or anything like that?
Nope. Nothing. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that must mean that the total miles run was pretty good.
It was. And it was a record of 57,475 miles.
Over 5 trucks. So just over 11,000, 11.3 or 11.4 on average per truck. Not bad.
11.2, almost 11.2.
Okay. All right.
Or
so
12,000, sorry. Almost 12,000 per truck.
Okay. So 57,000 miles run. How much of that was deadhead?
About 3,124 miles.
Give or take a few tenths of a mile.
Rounded up or down, I'm not sure which.
So, all right, what's our percentage on that?
So 5.4%, which is back to normal. If you remember last month, it was pretty high.
Yeah.
I think it was in the
like
7s.
7.
Yeah. This month, it came right back down to 5.4.
Okay. So with the 57,000 miles run, what was the total revenue then?
$174,594.90.
That's a lot.
Definitely a record.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Wow. Say that again.
$174,594.
Wow. And
90 cents.
No, okay. You left the
Thank
cents
you.
on. You
I'm
never
sorry.
leave the cents off, Chris.
There
Come
you
on.
go. That's all of it.
So,
to the penny.
Do you remember what the previous record was? Somewhere in the 150s?
I think it was somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly. Maybe 160.
But that's
It's a pretty
remarkable.
Pretty good jump.
Okay, so what was the rate per mile then across the company?
$3.04.
Wow,
Pretty
across
good.
5 trucks.
Across 5 trucks.
Nice. Yeah, nicely done. So, all right, we're breaking records all over the place, Chris, and it's not. People will find this hard to believe, but it's not just because you and I sit and podcast about it. And it's not just because how do I put this? We talk about a lot of the principles behind the business and how things should go in theory and whatnot. But who else do we give credit to for this record-breaking month? Got Nate handling things from the top. We got the 5 drivers. We've got dispatchers and whatnot. What are some of the kind of nuts and bolts keys to this kind of success? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you've named really the big key players. Nate obviously is a big part of that. The drivers couldn't do it without them. They've all done a great job. I'm really happy with the 5 drivers that we've got now. They're all doing fantastic.
Good.
So that's really the big thing. I think that's really the nuts and bolts of the whole operation. Jake, the dispatcher, and Brandy. We've got 2 that are kind of, Jake and Brandy both are kind of helping us out now, and those 2 keep the loads coming and negotiating the rates and getting good rates, and that's the big chunk of the team.
I just want to make sure that people don't go unthanked, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how much I contribute to the success of
Craig,
Haulin
yeah,
Assets,
yeah.
so I just want to make sure they do too. Okay, we've got record-setting revenue, but what does that mean for profit? You said no huge repairs, no massive, overhauls or accidents or anything like that. And so I imagine that the profit was pretty good if there weren't any huge expenses, right?
Yep. $65,714.92.
65.7. Yep. Okay. And once again, going right back into the business, right?
All going back into the business. Yep.
So, yeah, anybody who's this goes back to what you were just saying. I mean, not 5 minutes ago. If anybody's wondering, gosh, how do they keep buying trucks? How it's going so fast? I feel like it's going fast.
It is going fast.
And this is why, because you're not taking the money out of the business when we say putting it back into the business. It's growing the business.
Absolutely.
And for a trucking company, that means more trucks, more drivers.
Yep.
All right, Chris. So 65,000, not bad at all. What do you want to pull out of there as far as specific things to talk about from these numbers?
Let's talk a little bit about, there's a few expenses that were a little different than normal that I kind of want to point out. One was truck insurance. Along with coming with the 3-year anniversary mark is, every year we have to renew our insurance policy. And usually the way payment plans go for insurance is you make 10, a down payment and then 10 payments across the year.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is that last month you don't have a payment. We had a payment because we added a trailer on, but it was minimal. So our truck insurance payment was really, really low for the month.
Okay.
But the fuel went up crazy.
On the other hand,
fuel went up crazy.
Okay.
And so you'll kind of see that in the profit and loss statement if you compare the last, this last month, so March's numbers to any other month, it's a pretty big difference.
Okay. So you don't have specific numbers on that?
I don't have the profit and loss statement in front of me. I want to say it was about $45,000 versus closer to like $30,000 where it's been in the past.
Yikes.
Yeah. So pretty good jump.
That's a huge jump. Okay. But other than that, anything else jump out expense wise?
Everything else was pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything, repairs and maintenance were kind of right in line with normal. Everything else seemed to be pretty close to normal.
So, Chris, tell me something about fuel, because we've talked about this. I mean, this is going to be top of mind for anybody who owns a trucking company, potentially anybody who's driving for one as well. But this is going to be top of mind. When it comes to fuel costs, is this one of those things that, when I look at other businesses, restaurants, doctors, I take your pick. There are costs that we can calculate as a percentage of the business income. And then when you do that, you kind of have a window. You're like, well, if I'm between 3 and 5% on advertising, I'm spending 3% of my income on advertising. That's probably, a good benchmark to shoot for, whatever the case may be. Is fuel that way for trucking as well? And is that being screwed up by the soaring fuel costs?
It is an important thing to keep your eye on and keep a comparison to. And there's a couple things you kind of want to compare it to. And that's one of the things I want to dive a little bit more into. So fuel, you only have so much control in the cost of fuel. You do have a little bit, but not a ton. And the way that a trucking company does have some control is if you're a smaller trucking company, the fuel card you use is going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a little larger trucking company and have a pretty good volume of fuel that you purchase, you can actually go out and negotiate with the truck stops, the fuel locations, and negotiate a lower fuel rate. So that's about all the control that you have.
And we're not talking a massive
and it's not
shift that you're going to be able to get out of them.
You're talking, if you're lucky, a 10% savings in fuel.
Not nothing.
Not nothing. So it's definitely something that you want to do, but it's not going to. Typically, it's not going to be the difference between staying in business and going out of business.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're doing that. And one way that you can kind of tell is if we talked in the last financial episode about comparing your fuel expense to your revenue, and that's a really good way that you can also kind of compare your fuel expense to somebody else's fuel expense. And you can kind of look at industry averages. So if the industry average of fuel to revenue is 20% and you're spending 25%, you probably know that something's not right. Yeah. You need to look into that and see what you're doing different or what other people are doing different to be able to save more money than you're able to.
Is that about the number that you see around that 20% mark?
Yes, especially for that smaller to mid-sized trucking company, that's 20 to 30, probably 20 on the low range, 30 on the high range. If you look at Haulin Assets numbers, we talked about that a little bit last month, and I want to talk about March's, because March was also the first month where we basically had a full month of the fuel prices have skyrocketed because of the Ukraine invasion. Not just the Ukraine invasion. You kind of, I don't like to get political, but I mean, honestly, some of the policies that the Biden administration has made, since Biden came into office, have affected fuel prices. Whether you agree with that or not, I'm not going to get into that, but it's happened. And so that caused prices to start to go up. And then when Russia invaded Ukraine, they just skyrocketed. There was like a gradual increase, and then all of a sudden another huge increase really quick. And so March was really the first month where we experienced, a full month of that huge increase. And so it kind of had me worried, like, how it's okay for fuel prices to go up if revenue also goes up at kind of that same pace to offset it. And so my question has been, my curiosity has been, has the revenue increased enough to offset the fuel price? And so you can use that percentage of your fuel expense compared to your revenue to really determine if that is the case, if it went up enough. And that's the best way to do that. And so if you remember correctly, in February, our fuel cost was 22.45% of our revenue.
In February. Okay.
And in the months prior to that, it was kind of in that same realm, roughly between, since Haulin Assets has been operating, it's been somewhere between 20 and 25%. So in March, it was 25.08%.
So it crept up over that 25 mark.
It crept up, but we've been over 25 before. And in fact, our first year of operation, it was 25.3%. So it's still it's on the higher end of that normal range of what we've experienced, but it's not like it's completely blown itself up. So at this point, I'm not overly concerned, but it's definitely something we're going to keep our eye on over the next several months.
So the fuel rates have gone up, but this is in the middle of a good freight market. And so have you been around, you've been around the business long enough. Do you have a sense of, could it have gone the other way? Could fuel prices have gone up during a bad freight market, or are those two things kind of tied together?
No, that happens. Like you can have fuel prices go up in a market where the rates aren't nearly as good, and that starts to become catastrophic.
Right.
And that's when it starts to put people out of business. What's happening right now in the fuel prices should not be putting you out of business. If they are, you're doing something else wrong.
Right. That's not to say that it's cheerful and great, and we all wish the fuel prices were lower, but luckily right now it's happening when we can do something about it.
Yeah, it's going to be painful, but it shouldn't be...
Or I should say work with it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be catastrophic.
Yeah, okay. Well, very good. Chris, anything else on fuel prices or other numbers that you want to pull out from March 2022?
That's it.
Again, time is a flat circle. What is truth?
That's it. I want to get to where we get to start having a few laughs.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Yeah, you told me at the beginning you're going to be testing me. What's this all about, Chris?
So one of our employees, Olivia, had this idea.
You mean former employees?
No, she's a great employee. She's staying around. And
if this is Olivia's idea, then
no, you're not doing anything to sabotage Olivia. I will defend Olivia as much as I need to. Uh-huh. You're staying away from her. She got a gold star, a big gold star for this.
For this? Yeah. This is her idea?
This was her idea.
All right.
Yeah, so thanks, Olivia. Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
So we're going to go over some acronyms that are common in the trucking industry and see how well you do with these acronyms.
So just so that people get an idea, again, if you're watching on YouTube, you get to see it. If you're not, I'll just describe it. I do get notes from Chris. Here's what we're going to talk about. And, sometimes some of the things are, blank and we get to fill in the blank as we go. But on this, I have the acronyms here and nothing. I've got no hints. I've got nothing. I just know what the acronyms are, and I just am seeing them now for the first time.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Chris, hit me with it.
Okay, CMV.
Motor vehicles. Something motor vehicles.
Yeah. You've got
commercial motor vehicles.
Yeah. You started out well. Commercial motor vehicle. Yep.
Okay.
So DEF. Commonly referred to as DEF.
Sure. I've heard you say this a million times. I've probably even asked you what it means on the show, and I can't remember. Not even a little.
Diesel exhaust fluid.
Oh, of course. Okay.
It's not blinker fluid, but it's kind of in that same realm. Nobody likes it.
No.
It doesn't do shit.
You're not going to get me with blinker fluid. No. All right. What's up next?
DPF.
DPF. You do have to give me hints with some of these.
So it starts with a D. The last one started with a D, or have you forgot that one already?
Geez, diesel something.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Gosh, I got nothing.
This is another one of the truckers' favorite things in the world. Diesel particulate filter.
Okay. Why can't we just say filter? Come on. Okay, because you've got 8 different filters. Fine, yeah, I get it.
At least.
All right, what's up next?
CSA.
This is gonna be another commercial something, isn't it? Is it?
Why not? No,
Gosh,
it's not actually.
It's not. Okay. You see, this is what I'm talking about. You got to give me hints. What's this
CSA.
about?
Safety.
Gosh. Safety administration.
Hey, you're never going to get it.
No? Oh, okay. What is it?
Compliance, safety, and accountability.
Okay. You know, having worked for a bank, I should have gotten that.
Yeah.
But
These are all the ones that like we want to make people want to cuss about.
Well, you're making me want to cuss because I got the first one. I was off to a great start, and I don't think I've gotten a single one since. And we've got a few more to go through. Okay, what else have we got?
FMCSA.
Federal Motor Carrier. Oh,
you're so close.
Safety Administration.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job. You got
Are
one.
you kidding me?
Another one.
That was legit. I didn't even cheat.
Okay. FUBAR.
FUBAR.
FUBAR. Okay, this may not be the trucking industry. This may be my military.
Yeah, you're
acronym
pulling in.
coming
Yeah. Okay, I got FUBAR. I mean, I at least get the spirit of FUBAR. Although now that I'm not sure, I know it stands for something, and I can't remember what
it does. The big F bomb.
Right, effed up.
Beyond all
recognition. That's right. Okay, I remember that now.
It can also be used in the trucking industry on a regular basis.
I have no doubt.
Okay. The next one, SNAFU.
Snafu. Situation normal, all effed up.
There you go.
All right.
Good job.
Yeah, that one I got.
It.
See, I'd make a much better member of the military than the trucking fleet, right?
Apparently. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or just ones that have swear words in them.
That's right. Well, when I lived in France for a couple of years, I've told some stories maybe on this podcast about that. And of course, the first words that I learned were the ones that the kids were shouting at me all the time. So I learned a lot of swear words real quick. That's going to be the same in trucking. All the swear words are the easiest ones. All right. What's next?
APU.
APU. This is like the computer unit. No?
That's the next one.
Oh, really?
APU helps you sleep comfortably.
Oh, yeah. I got nothing.
So auxiliary power unit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, you have told me about that one.
ELD.
The ELD is the electronic logging device.
Very good.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm impressed you remember that one.
Okay.
Yep. GVWR.
GVWR.
This one's in a family of things. So GVW, GVWR. Okay, you're just looking at me like, yeah.
Unless you give me something more than that.
Stare. Yeah, you're about to shut down.
That's true.
Gross vehicle weight rating.
Of course, I've actually seen that one on the side of the road. I should know that one. Yeah. Okay, what's next?
BOL.
BOL. Give me a hint.
Bill.
Oh, bill of lading.
There you go.
Okay, sure.
Good job. UCR.
Hint.
Unified. Carrier registration.
Oh, okay.
We've talked a little bit about this one on the podcast, but it's been a while.
I was going into like political theory. That was unfruitful. Okay.
Two
How
more.
many we got? Two more?
Yep, two more.
Okay.
HVUT. Another one of everybody's best friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this one goes straight to the government.
Then it's got to be the highway something.
Yep.
Highway.
Or no, it's not actually. It's not
danger
highway.
zone.
It kind of is.
What? What's the first one?
Heavy.
Oh, heavy vehicle. But UT, I don't even know where to go with that.
Tax.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So every over 55,000 pound truck that goes across the road interstate has to pay this. And for an 80,000 pound truck, $550 a year.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of that, my brother, he is an engineer and did tons of engineering classes in college. Went and got his master's, and I was talking to him about asphalt on the highway, and I was complaining to him about it. We can land a man on the moon, but we can't pour asphalt that'll last more than a year. Blah, 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 and I'm kind of complaining to him about it, and he told me something interesting, which is that when engineers consider the weight that's going to be going over a road surface, they do not even think. They don't factor in at all anything under big rig size.
Really?
Yeah. So my little Mazda, somebody's Ford F-350, they don't care.
It's like one of those mosquitoes that you don't even feel land on.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you're driving around in a, however many tons of truck.
In your little smart car. And your mad bun.
All right, Chris, you got one
Oh,
more?
you're making me move on. You
That's
like
right.
that one. All right,
That's
sorry.
He's
Sorry
he's
about
made
that.
fun of my man bun. We're leaving it.
All right, last one, IRP.
Oh, IRP, we definitely have talked about somewhat recently.
Yeah.
But no.
International Registration Plan. It's your
So you
plates,
can go
license
into
plates.
Canada.
Yeah. Well, not just Canada, but state to state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interstate?
Canada's part of it.
Is it international or interstate?
It's international because Canada's part of it. Mexico's part of it. It just basically, well, is Mexico part of it? Canada's part of it for sure. But
Right.
makes it so you can you pay registration fees for every state that you or Canadian province that you run through.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm mostly embarrassed, but not entirely embarrassed, Chris.
You got more than I thought you would.
Really?
I'm impressed. Yeah.
Four
Yeah.
is more than you thought. All right. Well, Chris, any impact tips today? Or
I wrote it down on my notes, but I couldn't think of something really good. So I'm like, we'll just skip it for this month.
The impact tip is learn your acronyms. Okay, boys and girls, that is go to school, learn your acronyms, and then you'll conquer the trucking world.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet,
You're
apparently.
not even close.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for coming by. And we'll be back with episode 102 coming up in a couple weeks. And one more time, where can people go and what should they do to submit their samples?
Go to the show notes for episode 101 or
100.
100, and you can submit it there. There's going to be a form that you fill out really easy. Or if you want, just shoot me an email, chris@haulinassetslc.com. Either way, whatever's easiest for you.
There you go. All right. So, yeah, go check that out, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you then.